This is Caribbean News Desk. I'm Dennis Chabrol. First, the headlines. U.S. President Barack Obama's executive immigration order, not all that good news for undocumented immigrants. Communist-ruled Cuba and right-wing military government in Argentina had engaged in diplomatic trade-off. Guyana's opposition now calls for a general election. Dominica's police reject salary hike offer as the country prepares for a general election. And a flood hit Trinidad, bracing for more rain.
We are one Caribbean, one people, one nation, facing the same destiny. So separated we are, as one let's come together. One market economy, Caribbean is how it should be. Let's support, carry on, for Caribbean unity. It takes you, it takes me, for Caribbean unity.
United States President Barack Obama's executive order that will benefit almost 5 million illegal immigrants is not going down well with many others, including Caribbean nationals there. The order benefits millions of undocumented immigrants who are living in the United States for at least 5 years and have American-born children. They're protected from immigration agents and can even get work permits. However, there are millions more who have migrated to the U.S. on visas that are now expired, and they do not have American-born children. One of them is Guyanese Donna Burnett. While her Guyana-born offspring are unlikely to be deported because they entered the U.S. as children, Mrs. Burnett hopes that Congress will soon consider how to deal with persons like herself.
For me personally, the order did not go far enough to assist me because I came here 10 years ago and my visa has since expired. So the order is not going to help me. I am not a beneficiary because my children were not born here. Hence, even though I'm here 10 years, the order will not benefit me because my children are not U.S. citizens.
Now the holder of bachelor's and master's degrees in public management, Mrs. Burnett is not too worried about being deported because U.S. authorities will focus first on removing criminals from that country. By that time, she hopes that U.S. authorities will allow undocumented immigrants who are not beneficiaries of President Obama's executive order to be given a fair chance.
Everybody who are here today, except the Indians, we're all immigrants. And I believe that everybody should be given a fair shot and a fair opportunity so that, we can all live our lives in dignity and we can all live with each other in harmony. We do not want a second-class society. We don't want an elite class versus a slave class. We all should be able to have the same opportunities. And presently, the system that we have as President Obama, this is a system of amnesty. So we need to straighten this out and so that, we can have productive members of.
From all accounts, Mrs. Burnett is among millions of undocumented immigrants who have improved their education, bought properties, and have decided to work hard and settle in their adopted homeland. Documents recently declassified by the Argentine government revealed diplomatic cooperation between communist Cuba and the right-wing military junta that ruled the South American country between 1976 and 1983. The records, part of a batch of roughly 5,800 documents recently disclosed by Argentina's foreign ministry, show exchanges of diplomatic favors between the government of President Fidel Castro and the junta during the period 1976 to 1981. In 1977, Cuba sought Argentina's vote to get elected to the World Health Organization Executive Council. The military regime acquiesced to the petition and in turn requested that Havana back Argentina's bid for another term on the UN Economic and Social Council known as ECOSOC. The cable, classified as secret and marked very urgent, was signed by Fernando Ricciardi from Argentina's Department for International Organizations. 5 months later, the ambassador in Havana, Francisco Molina Salas, sent a secret cable to Buenos Aires stating that Cuba would support Argentina's bid at ECOSOC. In Guyana, the opposition of Partnership for National Unity, or APNU, is now calling for early general election, just hours after opposition leader David Granger insisted that he would not be talking with President Donald Ramotar on any issue unless Parliament is reconvened. The President suspended or prorogued Parliament on November 10 to prevent the opposition-controlled National Assembly from debating and passing a no-confidence motion. He then invited Mr. Granger to talks aimed at settling the parliamentary agenda before lifting the parliamentary suspension. But up to Friday morning, the opposition leader insisted that he would not be holding talks with the government unless Parliament is reconvened.
I'd like to assure you that everything that President Ramotar could want to speak to me about has already been spoken about, at least by the 20th of October. I cannot imagine that any third party, fourth party, fifth party could bring matters to the table. I don't even believe that any foreign observers or foreign interlocutors could bring matters to the table which have not been discussed. Every single issue, anti-money laundering, the non-assent to bills, local government elections, everything is being discussed over and over again. What we're seeing is not an ignorance of the issues. What we're seeing is not a lack of understanding or lack of communication. What we're seeing is a lack of will by President Ramotar to get ahead with governing this country in the interest of the mass of the people who are demanding local government elections and who are demanding a higher standard of governance than he's been able to deliver over the last 3 years.
Hours later, APNU Friday called for elections to be held now. This latest stance follows a decision by the Guyana Elections Commission to begin a new cycle of registration from December 1, a process that can see a new list of electors being available by mid-May 2015. A senior Elections Commission official, however, told the Caribbean News Desk that a continuous registration can be stopped at any time and is the voters list prepared and certified if the President calls election during the registration process. The current voters list is valid until January 31, 2015. As Dominica prepares for a general election on December 8, police there have rejected the government's latest pay increase proposal for the period of 2012 to 2015. Neither the government nor the opposition United Workers' Party or UWP is making a satisfactory offer. The executive of Police Welfare Association met with representatives of the government on Friday. The offer of 1% for the period was turned down. Earlier this year, the government had written to the PWA offering no pay increase for the same period. The offer was also flatly rejected. The association also held a meeting with the United Workers' Party on Thursday to discuss the matter, but that party's promise did not find favour with the representatives. Jefferson Drago is president of the Police Welfare Association.
Well, they requested a meeting with us yesterday that we attended, and we had discussions with them. They offered, if they were to come in government, they offered 1.5 and 3%. However, we told them that we are standing by our 14% for the triennium, 5, and 4. We all know that they are not in government. So that is just an offer. But we stand by our 14%, 5, and 4%.
The Police Welfare Association is due to meet with its members next week. Cuban Dr. Felix Baez-Sarria, who contracted Ebola in Sierra Leone, has reached Geneva for treatment at the Geneva University Hospital. The 43-year-old Cuban medic, specialist in internal medicine, was a part of the Henry Reeve International contingent of doctors and travelled to the African country in the beginning of October. Baez reached the Geneva airport around 23 hours 30 Thursday and walked out of the airplane before being driven to the hospital in an ambulance escorted by police. He is reportedly the first Ebola patient to receive treatment in Switzerland. According to a November 16 Cuban Health Ministry report, Baez began suffering from fever but did not show other symptoms and was transferred to an Ebola treatment center in Carytown. On November 17, tests were conducted and he was found to have Ebola. The report further says that on the proposal of the World Health Organization, Baez-Sarria would be transferred to the Geneva University Hospital, a center specialized in the treatment of highly infectious diseases. Puerto Rico has accumulated more than 18,000 suspected cases of chikungunya and 5 deaths linked to the virus. Puerto Rico's Department of Health says that up to late October, of those cases, 3,385 have been reconfirmed at laboratories of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. 31 of them was believed to have been contracted outside Puerto Rico. Authorities in recent weeks have observed a slowdown in the rate of spread of the virus, which reached its peak in August. The figures include 4 people who were infected with chikungunya at the time of their deaths, which does not mean that the virus directly caused their demise. The statistics, however, do not include the case of a newborn who died last week after contracting chikungunya from his infected mother during vaginal birth. Government epidemiologist Brenda Rivera provided the explanation, saying the child died 6 days after birth, but without giving details on when or where the death occurred. In July, authorities on the island declared an epidemic of chikungunya, a virus for which no vaccines or specific drug treatments exist, and which is transmitted by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which also carries dengue. Cuba has sent 3 teams of health specialists, including doctors and nurses, to the countries in Western Africa ravaged by the Ebola epidemic. Flood-stricken communities in parts of Manzanilla and Mayaro in Trinidad are being warned to brace for more rain this weekend. Since last week, residents' homes in Manzanilla and Mayaro have been underwater due to the heavy rainfall. The torrential rain has also caused parts of the Manzanilla Road to collapse. Our correspondent, Andre Perez, tells us more in this report.
Trinidad meteorologist Brian Thomas says the bad weather conditions will persist over the weekend on the island.
We are seeing this condition going on to Saturday and lingering also until Sunday. But Sunday afternoon, we are looking at the ITC shifting further south. Presently, we are not seeing that amount of rainfall that we had like last week to cause riverine flooding. However, you can expect periods of street or flash flooding with the downpours.
Meanwhile, Works Minister Dr. Suraj Rambachan says authorities are working around the clock to ensure the collapsed Manzanilla-Mayaro Road is repaired in a timely manner. Dr. Rambachan took an aerial tour of flood-impacted areas in East Trinidad this morning.
The speed at which the water is still flowing this morning is something that we're trying to understand, and we use the helicopter to go along the river to see whether the river breached areas or river changed course. We are not able to get a complete view of that, so I have people today using a boat to go up the river to see whether the river has breached its bank, changed its course, and that's the reason we're getting this large flow of water at a continuous pace coming out of the swamp.
And Mayaro Rio Claro Regional Corporation Chairman Hazari Ramdeen says cleanup efforts are ongoing and most residents are now able to leave their homes. I am Andrea Perez reporting from Port of Spain, Trinidad for Caribbean News Desk.
Protestantism has become the majority religion for Haitian immigrants in the Bahamas, where they make up 16% of the population. That's according to a forthcoming book by U.S. anthropologist Bertrand Louis. My Soul is in Haiti, Protestantism in the Haitian Diaspora of the Bahamas, which is due to be launched on November 28, explores a link between the Haitian Protestants' faith and how they reimagine Haiti. For this study, the expert visited the Bahamas in 2005 and 2012 to collect data and conduct 53 in-depth interviews with Haitian Protestants. Louis, who is interim vice chair of the University of Tennessee's Africana Studies program, said Haitian immigrants in the Bahamas are usually Protestants before reaching the archipelago, where Protestantism is one of the main religions. On New Providence Island, Louis noted an increase in the number of Protestant churches, with Haitian pastors numbering from 20 in 2005 to 42 in 2012. He says factors such as migrants, population growth, and social marginalization in the Bahamian society could have contributed to the change. Under a new immigration law that took effect November 1, the Bahamian government will not accept applications for work permits from persons residing illegally in the country, and illegal immigrants must carry their passports at all times. Louis, who's of Haitian descent, said the rise of Protestantism in Haiti began during the 1957 to 1971 dictatorship of François Papadoc Duvalier. And that's it for this edition of Caribbean News Desk. Don't forget to visit our website at caribnewsdesk.com. You could also visit us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/caribnewsdesk. We're also on Twitter at twitter.com/demwaves. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dennis Chabrol. Do have a good evening and a great weekend.